Here. I'm Giancarlo Lino, joined as always here by York Lions master coach Carmen Asacco and John Nelson of OSG Sports. We're going to start off with some big news here. Not the Leafs, because obviously perfect timing there. They had to make a GM change right before this show starts. But we got a new team in MLS, San Diego. John, what were your thoughts when you heard that we're going to see another California team? And should there have been maybe some thought of somewhere else?
Well, when you're more than happy to drop half a bill with Don Garber, what's Don Garber going to sit there and say? No, you're not in the right city. No, it was Mohammed Mansour and the Sikwan tribe dropping $500 million into the right to be team number 30. They're going to play at Snapdragon Stadium. We know what the San Diego Wave of the NWSL have been able to do there. They had 35,000 there for a match during an NWSL season. So, I mean, the audience is there. You go back to San Diego Loyal of USL Championship, and the Loyal have done high road the whole time. And, you know, they welcome either FC San Diego or San Diego FC into the coffers and into the public consciousness. So, no, when they come from not really the outside, but when they sit there and it's like, you know, Mr. Commissioner here, we have a piece of paper and you know, it's got a bunch of zeros on it. I mean, what's Don Garber going to say? No, but no, I mean, it's a hot market right now. It's a growing market. It's top 30 when it comes to television markets here in the United States. So we'll see. But no, you want to make that kind of investment? You want to drop that kind of a check with zeros on it? MLS would be dumb to say no.
Yeah, I agree. They're going to stay classy, just like Ron Burgundy said.
That's brilliant.
That's Carmen, like this is a team. They're like, you talked about Detroit in the past. Like, is San Diego like? Could this work? Oh no! Oh yeah, we got him back. He cut in and out.
Don't touch a button. Do not touch any buttons, Coach. You're doing fine. But now
he's muted.
Now we can't hear him. So it's the audio part that's the problem. Okay. So you mentioned Detroit. And the problem with Detroit, Giancarlo, is a venue. And you have what you're staring at. Yeah, you could sit there and say Ford Field. That's great. But I don't know if Ford Field is wide enough, frankly. And trying to figure out, you know, what it can be, you know, and if it's not Ford Field, you're not going to play in a baseball stadium. It would have to be something that is soccer specific or soccer houseable. And having somebody like Detroit, you know, and right now I know that Dan Gilbert, the owner of the Cavs, was interested. There have been interested parties in Detroit, but trying to make it fit. And I mean that in a physical sense, make it fit. That's the problem with a city like Detroit.
Testing on Carmen. Sound check. We got you.
There
you
go. Detroit. San Diego, fantastic. I thought you were going to use the other line that Burgundy used.
No, we won't use that one.
No.
That would get me canceled. We don't want that. We love San Diego over here.
Yes, we do.
But I think that's great. I think it's a great city. I mean, I go back to the San Diego Soccer's days. And, you know, it was always a great soccer place, great soccer town. And I think that's going to be a fantastic venue, a fantastic place to play. Detroit, no offense, Detroit. but I mean, they've done a great job at Detroit City. You know, that 6,000 group of hooligans, they've gone from NPSL all the way up to the USL.
Yeah.
And they still do a good job at the USL level. But I just don't know. And you look at some of the surrounding areas, like the general Detroit area. I don't know if they use that. They have an amazing soccer following, and some amazing players have come out of there. Whether it's, you know, Livonia or Kalamazoo, they've always had a good soccer following, and Michigan's massive, mind you. But I think those suburban places that have a great Vardars of the world are always, you know, top 10 in the youth system. I think they'd have a good following, but I just don't know. I still, the one thing that uh, attracted me to places like Milwaukee is they never went through that urban decay. That urban decay part of the U.S. A lot of cities in the U.S. have gone kind of, and then now there's that rebuilding and all that stuff happening right now. Detroit kind of hasn't hit that yet. Chicago's gone through it. Kind of found a new identity. But Detroit, like as a city, hasn't really gone through that yet. It's still based on the suburban lifestyle. Not to say it won't, but and it's still one of those cities that kind of gotta find its own identity again, restructure, rebuild type thing. And I think the Lions is an exception to the rule. I think the Pistons is the Pistons. They've always been there, and they've kind of exemplified what Detroit's been all about. But yeah, I don't know about the football culture there. I don't know about the urban culture there just yet. As far as if it's going to embrace soccer or football, whatever you want to call it. I just think that Detroit City's done a good job, but I don't know if it's going to be a realistic move right now for all those things that I just said. But you know what? I know the people from other places like Livonia are yelling at me, and a lot of people are going to yell at me because they I guess they have a history there. Detroit Mercer has always been a decent program there. It used to be a top program there, but right now it just doesn't excite me at all to have an MLS franchise in Detroit.
And John, do you think 2025 is a nice timeline, or do you think if they were going to announce this, it should have been a lot sooner, like a next year type of thing?
Well, but I think at the same time, though, you want to make sure that the runway that you've got fits what you're trying to do, because before, just to give you an idea, just before I came on the show this morning, I was catching up with the folks with the Jacksonville, Florida project with the USL, and their runway is 3 years down the road, because what they want to do is they want to build their own venue. I know that with San Diego, they're going to play at Snapdragon. Venue's already in place. But what you don't want to do is mess up the infrastructure, and you need to get every note right. So Jacksonville USL is taking 2 or 3 years because they got to build a stadium. They've got to get their branding. They've got to get the messaging right. They've got to get all their grassroots stuff squared away. You're talking about multiple levels of engagement. USL Championship, USL Super League with the women's side, all the other elements that the USL can bring to the table. And it's the same for anything involving a $500 million investment. You can't just be like Chelsea and Bowley Clear Lake and sit there and go, okay, so we'll just throw more money at the problem and it'll fix itself. What you're looking at in San Diego is, okay, we have this idea. We want to hit all of our notes right. Right now, they're looking at their branding. They're looking at the team name, looking at colors, looking at all that kind of stuff. I mean, they had an hour and a half meeting this morning with the ownership group. It's like, okay, here's our ideas, and here's what we want to do. You don't want to hit a wrong note and rush things and hit a wrong note. You want to hit a wrong note with a long runway. You don't want to hit a wrong note and sit there and go, oh, crap, we've got to really fix it, and then you fix it wrong, because we've seen so many times where folks have had messaging, whether it was logos or graphics or nicknames or ad campaigns, where you try to rush something through the door and folks laugh at you. And it's like, no, I'm not being a part of that. I mean, and then you have to tear it down, and you've got to sit there and go, yeah, we messed up. We're going to do it again. You don't want to have, with the level of investment that you're doing, you don't want to have a tear down, our bad, rebuilding moment in a relationship. And so I get the idea of making sure that, scheduling is right, facilities are right, because you're renting or you're leasing Snapdragon. What do you want to do when it comes to building your training ground, your training facilities? Where are you going to do that? That's another significant investment. You got to get all of these little notes right that we don't necessarily think of. I know a lot of us sit there and we'll look at the matches that we see on a weekly basis, whatever leagues we pay attention to. Oh yeah, they just roll them out there, and we're going to have PSG playing Marseille. No, it's not. It's not that simple. All of the little things that we take for granted, you've got to build into this momentum to make sure that everything is right. I get the fact that they're waiting a couple of years because there's a lot of stuff they got to do with infrastructure. Coach knows about infrastructure and all those little things that you've got to piece together to make sure that what you're seeing above the waterline is as calm as it actually is.
Speaking of being calm there, Carmen, like, do you think the fan base is gonna embrace the team? Because I'm already seeing on social media there's like pushback from the other San Diego club that's there, and like, do you think it's gonna be embraced by the market?
Yeah, definitely. And I think that momentum and organization and infrastructure is part of it for sure. And I think that John makes incredibly valid points. On the other hand, if you go to San Diego and you slap a $2 patch on your chest and you say, "Hey, we're playing our first game tomorrow," they'll have 60,000 people at the game. That's the community. That's the way soccer's built in San Diego. I think that's the moment. But I think it's momentum. I think it's organization. I think it's definitely what John said. But I think that, I mean, I used to play against San Diego in the old A League, and some amazing players came out of there. By the way, one person that was kind of my rival, but I had a ton of respect for the kid at the time, was a kid named Joe Cannon, and he came out of the San Diego A League program, and obviously, played national team, was one of the best keepers to ever play MLS. But yeah, and I just, you could just feel the energy of that whole group, and sorry, that whole community, soccer community, and it's massive. It's massive. So yes, are they being pragmatic? 2025, yes. Are they piggybacking on the momentum of a soon-to-come World Cup? Absolutely. Do they necessarily need a grassroots system? I don't think so. That might even be tough for a grassroots system. But I do think that if San Diego puts a patch on in 2024, 2023, gets out there, they'll have 60,000 people at the. And then other teams have gone through the process by learning, like by making these mistakes that John talks about. But I think John's correct in saying that they can't afford to make those mistakes right now. It is a top 30 market that, like he said, and they have expectations of how things need to work. And I think that that's going to take time to embrace the community, to get all that stuff not figured out, but just perfected. Because I think San Diego is that type of professional community, and they're hungry for success too. So they want to be successful. Golden State, obviously. Golden State. The Padres have kind of made a left turn in the Major League Baseball world. So they don't have a lot going on. The Chargers are, kind of okay, but I think that they're hungry for success, and it's a great soccer town, and I think that they're going to embrace this. But yes, they need to get it right because of the expectation of that community.
Speaking of expectations, and perfect segue here to expectations not being met. Toronto FC is currently at the bottom of the Eastern Conference standings. I know everyone's pretty much tied and separated by 3 points for the playoffs, but there's some fans online calling for Bob Bradley to be relieved of his duties. Carmen, do you think this is fair on him, considering all the injuries that pretty much every week it's the whole roster and starting 11 is week to week at this point? Do you think it's fair on Bradley and the job he's done, or do you think it's warranted because of the way they've been playing right now?
Not fair. Not fair. I think that accountability needs to come somewhere. I don't think that this is a Bradley-esque team. I don't think that he's kind of probably came in with the expectations that he could make the team himself, but I think the team was put in place for him, and he's trying to coach pieces that he's not very comfortable with. And in saying that, those pieces are probably not comfortable with him. So yeah, the line needs to be cut somewhere. Do I think it's Bradley's fault? Absolutely not. Do I think that he's put in a hard place where he's doing the best with what he's not comfortable for, or he's not adapting well to, so he's got to take some responsibility as well. But it's not an easy group for any coach. For any, it's not an easy group. Not withstanding the injuries, it's still not an easy group to kind of find that balance and that continuity. And I think in the last 2-3 years we saw one game, and that was their first game with give the ball to the Italians, where they went and they won 4-0 and then just played outstanding. The rest of it has been, it's just a figuring out period with a lot of players that kind of, again, Bradley has to take responsibility for not knowing their roles or not being comfortable with their roles. So there's a lot to this story, but I don't know how much longer you can roll with it. And again, I do not blame Bradley at all for what's happened. I think that he came in probably with different expectations, and I do think that he needed to be a bit more adaptable to what the situations offered at this time.
Yeah, John, do you think like he's on the hot seat, or do you not buy into that?
No, I think he's on the hot seat. There were problems at the back last year. You bring in Matt Hedges, you bring in Sean Johnson. Sean Johnson, I feel at times, has to be looking at that back line going, bruh, there are still issues at the back. And to Coach's point, yeah, when you have all the high-priced talent and they're not always there in unison, then obviously you have all of the continuity problems that are attached to it. But I think that there's always that expectation in Toronto that you've got to be north of the playoff bar and that you've got to be chasing things. And, yeah, I know that you mentioned how the East is just absolutely crazy right now, where you have teams separated by, one win. If you've got a good week, you can rocket your way up the table in the Eastern Conference. But I think that what happened in Can Champ, I think is a part of this too, losing to CF Montreal at home. And I think that being at the bottom of the East in Major League Soccer is part of this as well. Is he on the hot seat? Absolutely. What is it going to take for people to be patient? I don't know if that exists anymore when it comes to what have you done for me lately? What have you done for me recently? Those kinds of things. So I think that it's going to be a tough ask. And I think that when you saw Bob Bradley on the touchline last time out, trying to have a few choice and colorful words that were laced with, I'm sure, colorful metaphors to match, I think that was probably the personification of what's going on right now in Toronto. I think that there's a lot of folks that are frustrated. And the thing is that in a place like Toronto, you have the same thing going on in Kansas City. You have the same thing going on in Los Angeles with LAG. You have individuals who have multiple job titles. So if you were to go down this road, if you were to sack Bob Bradley, if you were to sack Peter Vermes, if you were to sack Greg Vanney, you're having to hire multiple individuals now for these single positioned places that are there right now in Major League Soccer. You have these guys who we see in other sports, where they're in football, where they're director of player personnel and their head coach. You're not just hiring the one individual when you sack a coach in Major League Soccer. You got to hire multiple dudes now, and that creates that added pressure of a front office. Like, well, if we sack him, that means we got to hire 2 folks, or we've got to have confidence to promote folks. And that's the other side of this. Yeah, he might be on a hot seat in LA. Yeah, he might be on a hot seat in Kansas City. But then who do you bring in? And I mean that in a multiple plural sense. If you sack that manager, what do you do? Because that's not just all they're doing.
You bring in Carmen Asako. He does what he does at the university level.
But
And he wins an MLS Cup.
I don't know if Coach wants that kind of headache. Even if it was a remote plan, it's like, yeah, you throw Carmen's hat into the ring. You throw it into the bull ring. I don't know if Coach wants that. I don't know if Coach wants that kind of headache these days.
Got
Can we?
Insigne, Bernadeschi, got Mark Anthony, nice reunion. I think Carmen would be perfect for that job.
Yeah. Can we go back to reality? So yeah, I mean, it's a bit of a mess there, but I just don't know how long they can hang on with. And I'm not just talking about Bob. I'm talking about the whole system. You know, how long is it going to take for the ownership and MLSE to come down and say, and you know what, there's signs that there's different signs that they're not happy with how things are going, because this is kind of a you know, a collection of of blueprints, kind of. All right, now we've had this big long period of time to see where these blueprints, whether it's the academy, whether it's all these situations, what now? Right now they're at the what now period, right? What now? What's at the end of this? We've invested millions and millions of dollars, you know, and now what now? Like, we've had our time. We gave our city a great 2-3 years. We had a blueprint with Bazbachenko, you know, and then we brought in someone that, you know, needs to challenge Bazbachenko and Bill Manning. So is it that time to bring that person in to challenge Bill Manning, or is it that time to, hey, let's move on, let's have a new perspective, let's get re-energized? But you could see some of the stuff that they're doing in the academy is not great. It's whether it's taking away meals from the academy, whether it's moving away from the U19s or U17s, MLX next. So all these things, these little things that are happening, they're looking to save money, and I don't know if it's by necessity or it's by all right, let's try something new. So yeah, it feels like a reach right now in this organization, and I think that it's been coming for a while.
On a positive note, John, Atlanta made a big transfer today. In recent days, there was a lot of rumors coming out, like whether it be finalized, but now it's confirmed there.
Yep.
What does this do now for their team going through the year now?
No, I mean, it's part of the process. I mean, you know, Luis Araujo to Flamengo for just under $10 million. I know that folks would look at Luis's numbers when it comes to productivity, and I know that there's definitely a discussion there, where I know a lot of folks looked at him in 2021 and they were like, yeah, can we have that guy? He wasn't the same in 22. He didn't give you the same numbers. He wanted to come back in 23. I give Luis Araujo a lot of credit. He was not happy with his own productivity in an offensive sense, goals and assists in 22. The last home match of the year, he stands up in the locker room and says, yeah, no, it didn't meet my expectations either. I want to come back. I want to do better. I want to be a part of the solution. And, you know, obviously you ask Luis, it wasn't what he wanted. And I'm sure that, you know, if you ask the front office, it's the same thing. They would have liked to have seen more, but the player and the front office and the coaching staff agree on that. But it gets to a point where, you know, if teams back home are knocking on the door, then what do you do about it? Last year, Palmeiras was knocking on the door. Palmeiras, for me, is a painful watch. I didn't think it would be a great fit. I mean, literally, if you saw Palmeiras in the Club World Cup a year ago, it was like watching paint dry. And literally, it was like goalless and then waiting for a mistake or getting to penalties and trying to advance in a tournament. It was pretty painful. Flamengo comes knocking on the door. There was a number that was posted for Palmeiras. Palmeiras was like, nope. Number was posted for Flamengo. I don't know how much negotiation there was, but it goes down. And so now what it does is you ask Carlos Bocanegra and Garth Lagerwey, all right, we know that the summer window is going to be pivotal, because this is the first step. Is Thiago Almada part of that as well, where you're looking at probably $35-40 million transfer fee? Is somebody that interested in Thiago Almada? I would say yes. We know that Napoli has been interested in Thiago Almada. And so what you're looking to do is you're looking at contracts here, and you're looking and going, okay, you know, who's interested? What can I do with the resources coming in? Can I keep Thiago Almada on a loan if if the negotiation takes a while? So that's the whole thing with this. I think it's the first step of several when it comes to Atlanta United. But now what it does is it creates an interesting question for you on the right wing. And what do you do there? Do you move Brooks Lennon up? Do you slide Ronald Hernandez in? So we'll see what it means for the lineup. Luis is going to be here through the June 24th match in Harrison, New Jersey against Red Bulls. So we'll see what happens with Luis. But no, couldn't be happier for him. He gets the chance to go home. And Sampaoli, by all indications, is more than happy to have Luis there.
Yeah, should be interesting to see now what they do with this added resources here. But we'll shift here. I want to get Carmen's thoughts on this because his team, they're Inter, riding high, take out AC Milan, advance to the final. But who do they have in the final? They're going to go toe-to-toe and Erling Haaland. So, Carmen, what do you think of Inter's chances here? And do you think they can shock everybody and beat Man City?
It's one game. It's one game. Yeah, I mean, it's going to be about moments, and it might be about Man City not being at their best. Just how Real Madrid was still in the game after 20 minutes because Man City missed some, and Courtois made some incredible saves. Woo. Yeah, I mean, if there's anyone in transition that can give their center backs trouble, it's Martinez, it's Zeko, it's Lukaku. They've got the pace and the strength to give their center backs trouble. And when they get into those spells of possession in the final third, they're just gonna have magic. Is it possible? Absolutely. Is it likely? No. And to be fair, that they've been the best team in the world for 3-4 years. Let's be honest. So, and I think they're the best team in the world right now. But it's still one game. You still have incredible quality on Inter Milan. You still have a team that can defend pretty much in a 5-5. And it's going to be tough to break down. And I thought Real Madrid didn't get it right. Didn't get it right defensively. They left spaces, places where they usually don't leave spaces. And Inter Milan playing in Serie A is very comfortable defending 20 yards from their goal. And it's again, they have so many players that can do so many magical things on Manchester City that 20 yards might not be enough. So and it's going to be it's going to be moments. It'll be interesting. I think Inter will look at that game of intervals about 15 minutes at a time. How they can keep a 0 for 15 minutes, how they can keep a 0 for 15 minutes at a time, what they can do, and how they can get forward and get involved in the attack when they can get involved in the attack, and how Barella is going to be when they receive balls at a half turn. It's going to have to be a direct type of mentality, and they have strikers that can break them down. So, and they are a world-class team, as was Real Madrid, and as Manchester City made them look very, very mediocre. And to be fair, this year Real Madrid in the La Liga has been mediocre many times. So yes, it's possible. Is it likely? No, I'm not sure what the juice boxes say, but it's not likely. And you know what? I think that's the mentality that Inter will look at it like. And Inzaghi's famous for the counterattack when he did it with Lazio. He's famous for counterattacking against big teams. So you know what? Now it's the time, and Inter hasn't been that counterattacking type team lately. They played incredibly well against AC Milan, especially in the first leg. But we'll see how they react. But it's not going to be abnormal to them, or it's not going to be that uncomfortable to them to play against a team like Manchester City that can dominate the ball. But does Serie A have the quality that they have? I don't know. Will Inter Milan be able to deal with the tactical overloads that Pep Guardiola will definitely find? And you know, there's no Haaland or De Bruyne or players of that ilk in Serie A right now. So it's gonna be a tough goal, but doable, and recipe is doable. It's just gonna be a lot of defending when they need it, a lot of ball possession in the final third, and a lot of transitional actions that Lukaku or Martinez has to be very, very good at.
Juice boxes right now over 90 minutes. Manchester City is a minus 227. Your 90-minute draw is plus 387, and Inter to win it in 90 minutes is north of plus 600.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Mortgage a house on Inter. That's it right there. Take advantage of the Man City final curse.
That's a hard pass, brother. Nope, not happening. Gonna enjoy it and watch it. And I don't have stinky or smelly enough or nasty flavored juice boxes enough to want to throw anything on that one. I'm just gonna sit and enjoy it.
Yeah, like, do you think if Man City were to drop the ball here, like we saw them when they had Aguero, it looked like a feel-good story, a feel-good ending, like didn't go their way. Like if with this kind of team they have now, the matchup they have is in their favor. What would happen? Let's say they lose in the final. Would that spell the end of Pep Guardiola's time there?
Stop it. What is this with you and the idea that Pep Guardiola is one and should be, and I don't know why he's not. Pep Guardiola's pedigree is one of the most Hall of Fame coaches you will ever come across. He's probably going to win, and I say that because there's still math involved. He's probably going to win the Premier League for the 5th time in 6 years. What he did at Barcelona, what he's doing domestically, what he's been able to accomplish in multiple cups across the board, regardless of where he's done it. They are going to be, if it doesn't happen. All right, so fine. Plus 607 happens and they don't win Champions League. It will have been after an FA Cup where on June 3rd they probably will get the double, where they'll probably get the Premier League title. Then you've got June 3rd. It's the FA Cup, a Manchester derby. I think they get that too. Chasing a treble. You've accomplished so much. The only person who will determine the end of Pep Guardiola's tenure at Manchester City will be Pep Guardiola. If he wins, here's what I think is going to happen. If he wins and gets the treble, I think that he comes back for one more year to try and see if they can repeat with the same bunch and maybe some tweaks and bringing in some folks and seeing who wants to stay and who they can keep. You chase after the idea of repeating and maybe going trouble. Maybe. We'll see what happens. Then I think he takes a year off. He lives in Central Park West. It's some big high-rise condo kind of deal that's going to cost like $17 million, and he'll go, you got change for 20. Then I think what happens is he spends time coaching NYCFC because he loves New York. So I think that maybe he does that for a year or two, and that gets you into 2026 in that market in New York City. So I think that he tries to repeat in 24. If it doesn't happen, I think he calls it in the Premier League. 25 he takes off, and to start things in a World Cup cycle in this hemisphere, he's the head coach of NYCFC for the 25-26 season. Sees it in, sees it out, 26-7. And then
I was all in it until I heard that. No.
Do you think like a World Cup though, Carmen? Like I would think like he would want to chase that, right?
I do agree that it's in his own hands, and if he wins it, there's more chance of him leaving than if he loses it, because he needs to prove that, and I think he felt a little empty at leaving Bayern Munich the way it got left with winning the Champions League. But let's put things in perspective. His little theory about New York, I have a little theory too. He's won the domestic in Germany, in Spain, in England. The only other massive league he hasn't won, and he played in Italy. You know what? Him kind of rebranding or refurbishing Juventus might be the way to go.
That would be nice.
Can they afford? They'd have to pay him. They'd have to find the money to pay him. They don't have it.
They don't.
They're gonna sell some more Jeeps and get in trouble with FFP.
Okay, well let's talk maybe Inter, maybe another big club, maybe AC Milan.
Did you see what's going on with? Let me see if I can find the info real quick. Inter is its. Sorry, my bad. Not Inter, but Napoli. Napoli. Aurelio De Laurentiis and Luciano Spalletti. Increasingly evident in recent days, reports that Rafa Benitez and Antonio Conte are the leading candidates to replace Spalletti at Napoli. So you've got that. I mean, Inter Milan. I mean, are they going to be happy with what they've got there? I mean, what do you do? What other places are left for him to conquer?
Well, Italy, the Italian league. I think that's probably part of it to kind of fulfill that, again, the conceptual hole for him as far as I mean, who I think Ancelotti's probably the only one that's closest or has done it, won a domestic in all the major leagues. So I think that would be way before New York City, but who knows? And I think that you got to be excited with the Spanish national team at some point too. There's some exciting players, and I think that'll be down the road. But why not? Like, I think it could be a good possibility if he's the true. I mean, money might not even be a factor for him at this point. But if he's a true, self-described professor and lover of the game, that would be one the last piece to conquer the Italian league, the Serie A, where every league that he's been part of, or even PSG, that might be a possibility.
There's a challenge right there.
Exactly. Well, not the league itself, but maybe the Champions League, which is something that's eluded them. And obviously money doesn't buy you everything. So yeah, there's lots of possibilities for him to stay in the game, but I think that there is more of a possibility of him leaving if they win it. And I think that just for fulfillment piece, I think that's why he would do it. But I think there's lots to say left in his career. He's only 50, 52, 53 years old, and for coaching years, that's not crazy. And I mean, so he's got a lot of time to grow.
On that note, we see the book there, John. Tell us how we can find that, purchase that, follow you on social media, send you DMs about Atlanta.
There you go, right there on the Twitters at OSG Nelson. That's the easiest way to reach out to me on social media at Soccer Down Here. Soccer Down Here Daily Radio. SDH is Soccer's morning show, 9:05 to 11:05 on Twitch. Rolled over to the SDH app shortly thereafter. iOS and Android, soccerdownhere.net. Book 6, Noble Strong, Lessons in Destiny. You can do either a John, Jon Nelson, or a Noble's Strong search on Amazon and pick up the book. Great book about a great town and a great family, as the family was fighting one of the biggest battles you could ever have, and how a town wrapped themselves around them as they were chasing the title. So book 6 right there. Books 7 through 10 are right now being planned, so there's plenty to play with.
Happy Victoria Day weekend, John Nelson.
Yes, happy to Victoria too. Good. When you run into Victoria, tell her I said hello.
All right, Giancarlo, tell her that John Nelson says hello.
Well, he was mentioning book 7 to 10. I have an idea on one. Carmen Asako, Legends in Destiny, York University, all the championship banners he put in that university.
He has the name, he has everything.
There you go.
But Giancarlo, do we make fun of the American? What do we say? Hey, if you see Memorial, I say hello.
He didn't make fun. He just said Happy Victoria Day. That's not making fun. That's actually acknowledging that we're Canadian. All right?
No.
All right. So, John, I'll let you go there. And,
all right. Good. We'll see you guys next week.
See ya.
Bye, Johnny.
Giancarlo, tell them something. What do you have to say for Victoria Day? Are you inviting me and Giancarlo over for barbecue and everything like that? Come on.
I'll be in Ottawa.
Ottawa. So you will be with Trudeau then.
I'll be home. We have training sessions on Monday, so I'll be in Ottawa for leaving in just a bit, and I've got people over my shoulder telling me that I have to hurry up.
All right, hurry up. Hold on. I got to ask, because this is
Is that a orange top you have on?
No, it's the white, it's the red, or black, the orange. Do you see this orange? All right. So listen,
It's a Forge
forget
logo.
about what I'm wearing. Look at the hair. Look at everything. All right. So here it is. This is the Carmen Asako Sports Minute here on the Fired Up Network. Carmen Asako. It looks like um, the Maple Leafs general manager Kyle Dubas will not be renewed. Your thoughts on Kyle Dubas' career as a Maple Leaf GM?
Yeah, I thought he did everything as he could do. I thought he made some good moves. Um, I think that he's going to be a well sought after GM moving forward. Young, has a plan. You know what? Before you have ultimate success, you have to fail and you have to do things. I think he's going to be a great general manager. But I think this is just a kind of a prelude to what's going to happen with Keith. So obviously we're going to change. We're going to see a change in the coaching and because of the GM and everything else that happened. You know, but it's a community where you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. You can't make anyone happy. You know, if you remember prior to Keith, it was about not playing the best players enough. Now it's about playing them too much, or you know, giving a fourth line. It's just going to be so crazy at this point. And think about all the coaches that had so much have success are in the set are in the the next rounds. Like for Florida, remember him?
Yeah, Paul Maurice.
Yeah, but he was cast off in Toronto like that, and now he's the best thing since sliced bread. So like,
confirm or deny, you've been in talks with Brendan Shanahan about being the new general manager of the Toronto Maple Leafs.
I may be the new general manager of the breakfast.
You hear that, John, who writes stories? Carmen Asako is talking about a career change from soccer to hockey. Giancarlo, do you think that is a good acquisition if the Maple Leafs make it hire Carmen Asako?
Yeah, would be amazing.
Thanks for your excitement, Giancarlo. All right, Giancarlo, tell everybody how they get a hold of you as we close out. Everybody have a great long weekend. Happy Victoria Day weekend. Go ahead, Giancarlo.
Yeah, follow me on Twitter, John_411, Instagram, Giancarlo_Alino. Check out my articles on firedupnetwork.ca. And if you're in Toronto, check out my interview on Vibe 105 with Craig Lieberman, who was a technical advisor of the original Fast and Furious films, as we gear up for Fast 10's release this weekend.
Did you watch it yet?
No, it just came out.
Is John Cena in it?
I can't see John Cena, so I wouldn't know if he's in the movie.
Can you see John Cena, Carmen?
Is this a joke with words?
No. Yeah. Can you see Ralph and Furley and Ralph Mouth and all that from Happy Days? Because Happy Days are here again. You've been asked to sing a song as we close out the soccer show here on the Fired Up Network.
I have no songs to sing with Cena, although I could saw some seeds with Cena. But
that's it. Come on, spit some lyrics out. All right. Look at he's checking out his hair. Look at this guy. Come on.
No, I thought I left.
All right, one more question. Seriously, one more question. You said you have this weekend games in Ottawa and all that. How's York United doing, or York University doing? Sorry.
I mean, right now I'm obviously with Vaughan, and a lot of my players are playing there. And in the women's side, they're getting great experience in League One and doing quite well for that, And the men's side the same, whether it's League One or League One Reserve or. So yeah, it's a process. It's growing, and the whole point is to get players to that next level, and that's what we're trying to do.
And 2026 logo. Your thoughts on the 2026 logo for Toronto, for Mexico, for the U.S. Go ahead.
Very simple, huh? Seems simple and uncomplex, and not very awe-invoking symbol. It's just kind of there.
All right. So for Carmen Asako, John Freeman Nelson, and Giancarlo Alino, this has been the Soccer Show here on the Fired Up Network. Happy Victoria Day long weekend, and thank you for watching. Thanks a lot, guys.